In the headlines, counting of votes underway as Nigerians elect President Buhari's successor and 469 members of the National Assembly. Late commencement of election hampers exercise as INEC chairman insists all voters on queue will vote. European Union Election Observer Group impressed with voter turnout in Nigeria's election. And on the foreign scene, 19 athletes injured after blasts at race in Cameroon. Hello and welcome to Trust News Update. I'm Darshan Hussaina Usman. And now the news in detail. Nigerian troops out across the country on Saturday to choose their preferred candidates in the presidential and National Assembly elections. Voting is now over in some polling units, while voting has commenced in some centers. However, counting in some polling units has been delayed by glitches experienced earlier in the day, ranging from malfunctioning beavers machines to late arrival of INEC officials and election materials. Despite the setbacks, a large number of voters turned out to cast their votes. Kehinde Amodu reports.
The frontrunners in the presidential race all expressed confidence that they will win the ticket to lead the country.
Up to this point, we have not yet been disappointed, and we hope not to be disappointed.
And we thank God that the result we're getting is fairly peaceful and everything is working. Everything is on course. We definitely are very certain that the People's Democratic Party will win the elections.
Not a very good now. It is expected. We need a good turnout. And that is the adoption and the democratic process.
I voted successfully, thank God. But you see, the time it takes and the number of people that we have, for example, in this particular polling unit is so huge that only God knows when they will finish.
But the vote has run into glitches in some parts of the nation. Voting in some polling units started quite late because election materials did not come in time.
They are only, all of them are not new people. All of them are not new people now in policy now. They are all cabals. We are all troubling ourselves because voting for ourselves, putting ourselves in some problem again. That's the problem. We don't have really that in Nigeria.
In the same vein, in many polling units, BVAS machines malfunctioned.
Everybody who is knowledgeable knows that when you are dealing with scientific equipment, even the best of it, the very one that is brand can fail at any time. And so for them to have failed to provide for replacement of those that will malfunction, I think that is lack of wisdom on their part, and they should take.
This first tranche of elections is to produce the President, Vice President, and National Assembly members. But it seems the National Assembly vote has been enveloped by the presidential elections. At the time of filing this report, breaches to security across the country have not been widespread, although there have been reported pockets of violence in Lagos, Rivers, and some states in the southeast. It signifies that turnout of voters has been impressive, which could indicate that the number of Nigerians that exercise their constitutional rights in these polls may be much more than those that voted in previous years. Kehinde Amodu, Trust TV News.
President Muhammadu Buhari voted at Sarkin Yara polling unit in Daura, Katsina State. Buhari expressed satisfaction with the process so far, reiterating his pledge to give Nigerians free, fair, and credible elections.
Nigerians should make sure that they have been respected. The candidates they want to vote for, they are allowed to vote for him. And only one woman candidate that can come from Adamawa State. So the woman should kindly follow our ABC presidential candidate, and everybody knows it.
The presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Atiku Abubakar, has cast his vote in Yola, Adamawa State, saying he is optimistic of emerging victorious at the end of the exercise. The former vice president, who spoke to journalists after casting his vote, said he is satisfied with the conduct so far. Atiku is one of the front runners in today's presidential election.
The city of Yola is under shutdown. Residents come with anticipation to cast their vote. At exactly 9:20 in the morning, Atiku Abubakar arrives his polling unit alongside his wife, Titi Atiku, to cast their vote, with the hope of becoming Nigeria's 5th democratic president.
Officer, leave that place now.
Residents express satisfaction with the process, although materials in some polling units did not arrive on time.
I feel I've exercised my right as a Nigerian and I'm hopeful for a good outcome for my party.
The turnout is really appreciative. We appreciate the turnout because a lot of people have come out now to vote. And as early as 8:30, people are voting. And up till now, they are doing.
Although in some areas, voters experience system error with beavers, but the process has not stopped.
And then coming out here to come and vote, I think it's the best thing to do for all Nigerians because all of us know what is happening. So this is our right. This is what we need. Like if we feel we want to change the government or anything, whatever you feel that we want it to be, we want it to happen.
The turnout is a bit low in the morning, but this afternoon really people are coming out. They don't need to be given time limit really because a lot of people will not come here until after 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock. So I don't buy the idea of giving an ultimatum of 2:30 to close the voting.
Voters in their numbers in Kano State turned out to vote in the presidential and National Assembly elections. Trust TV correspondent Idris Jibrin, who has been monitoring the situation, reports that the presidential candidate of the New Nigerian People's Party, Rabi Musa Kwankwaso, voted in Kwankwaso village in Madobi local government area of the state.
As early as 6 a.m., voters across Kano State converged on various polling units to exercise their civic responsibility. In Kwankwaso town of Madobi local government, the NNPP presidential candidate Rabiu Kwankwaso cast his votes in Malamai Primary School.
People are voting, and I believe the majority are voting for us. Our only worry is that the name of our party, NNPP, is not written on the ballot paper. And not only that, it is not very clear. So these are one of the challenges that maybe it has to be addressed maybe in the near future.
In Ganduje town of Dawakin Tofa local government, Governor Abdullahi Ganduje also cast his vote at about 10 a.m. Back in Kano metropolis, voters in their numbers queued in across various polling units. Although there is no report of violence in most polling units visited, but voters in some areas are expressing concern over the authenticity of the beavers, which they say is not verifying their identity.
I joined the queue, but the beaver reject my card. Okay. But the papers, them print and put for the wall. My name is there. My picture is there.
The problem is that my number is 039. Then I went there and they directed me to 068. I went there too, my picture is there, but my name did not appear in the machine.
I've been here since morning and I've not been able to vote. The beavers machine, where you put your voter's card, they will tell you it's not here, go here, go here. We've been here since morning and I've not been able to vote.
While voters across Kano State await for results, they urge the Independent National Electoral Commission to ensure that their votes count. Idris Jibrin, Trust TV News, Kano.
Labour Party presidential candidate Peter Obi voted at his polling unit PU 019 Umudimakasi Square, Ugulu, Anambra State, expressing optimism as the polls got underway. The presidential candidate is confident that he will emerge victorious if the poll is conducted in a free, fair and credible atmosphere.
Because I don't know what's happening everywhere. What is happening here is okay. So I hope what is happening here is what is happening globally, all over Nigeria. If it is, fine. It's an existential election. A country is going through a very difficult time and requires an urgent and immediate turnaround to commence. If we are here now, I'm sure you're secure here. So it's not everywhere, it's not, there's insecurity over throughout Nigeria. If you weigh it or measure it, Southeast remains one of the most secure places in Nigeria. But our own is exaggerated, and often a phantom of one or two are trying to cause disaffection. I'm here, supposedly being one of the leading candidates in this election. I should have been here with trucks of soldiers and everybody, but you didn't see anybody here. Did you see soldiers here? Did any of you see police trucks here? Did you see anybody? Urge Nigerians to come out and vote. It's an existential election that will start turning around Nigeria because the country is collapsing.
Election in Imo State recorded an impressive turnout of voters despite initial fear of insecurity. Jude Owamanam gives us an update.
Earlier in the morning, people were afraid to come out. But later in the day, people started trooping out to vote. And of course, we have late arrival of materials. Where I'm standing now is in polling unit 008 in Abba Ward in Wange local government area of Imo State. I was told that accreditation and voting started by 12, and then people came out, waited patiently. In fact, I cast my vote at this very polling station, and it took me less than 2 minutes to do that. The voting process is quite smooth. People are orderly. They lined up. There's not been any hitch. Generally, the situation has been very, very calm. You know, earlier in the morning, as I said, people were afraid to come out because of the already tense situation in Imo State. But as from late morning, people started coming out to vote. That is the situation now as now in Imo State.
Okay, so that means you could say that the voter turnout, what could you say about that?
The voter turnout at this time is quite impressive. But as I said earlier in the morning, there was some kind of disinterestedness in what I saw. People appear not to be interested, you understand. But as morning wears on, people started coming out. And as I'm talking to you now, you can see a crowd in this polling unit trying to express their franchise.
Similarly, in Anambra State, Titus Eleweke reports that security presence facilitates voter turnout.
The security situation is right. We have police checkpoints in various places, and the security men are about. And when I come back in the morning on the highway, we've seen a lot of policemen and other. But in the various polling units, we don't have presence of police. So it was it's a very good attempt. That's the high that Anambra State. There's nobody as of now I'm talking to that who has not been able to, who came to the polling unit and were able to be accredited. One significant thing, the PVAS is working perfectly. There's no record in Anambra State where say the PVAS has failed to work. So that's from now to the best of my knowledge, but it is working.
Governor Aminu Waziri Tambuwal has called on the Independent National Electoral Commission to consider extension of closing time of voting in Secretary of State due to late commencement of the exercise. Governor Tambuwal made the call shortly after he cast his vote at Government Girls' Day polling unit in Tambuwal local government area. Tambuwal said since the delay was not caused by the electorate, the commission should be given more time to the electorate to exercise their civic rights.
And the need for them to really make sure that there is more effective and efficient deployment of security personnel at polling units. And I've been appealing for calm and that voters should exercise more patience and show more understanding. In any case, we know that some people are very peaceful, so that in a very convivial atmosphere they can cast their votes. I believe that the situation is getting calmer now. And here I have had cause to really even talk to the head of the police here, that they should go and make sure that they restore order in the polling units.
The Independent National Electoral Commission has assured that all Nigerians in queues at polling units in the country before 2:30 p.m. will exercise their franchise. INEC Chairman Mahmood Yakubu, who made this known at a real-time election briefing in Abuja on Saturday, noted that no Nigerian will be disenfranchised. Yakubu also said the bimodal voter registration systems has been functioning optimally in all parts of the country. Responding to a question on delayed voting from reporters on Saturday afternoon, the INEC boss said every Nigerian with permanent voter cards present at the polling units will vote.
I requested that gentleman to share a copy of that letter with me. He shared a copy of that letter, and it was clearly issued by his party, not by INEC. And when I drew his attention to it, he immediately deleted the message. So this is the clarification on the issue of agents. And I would still like to advise political parties that as we go into the concluding phase of this election, particularly when we go into collation of results, the Commission will insist that only INEC accredited collation agents will be admitted into the collation centers. Finally, there was an issue raised by some of the political parties, particularly at the polling unit level this morning. They said that in some instances, the logos of the political parties were on the ballot papers, but the acronyms of the political parties were not on the result sheets. I need to provide this important clarification. The process of producing the result sheets is more complicated than the production of the ballot paper.
The European Union Observer Mission to the 2023 general election has acknowledged the large turnout of voters at the Government Secondary School Zone 4, which has 3 polling units where it first observed the polls. EU Chief Observer Barry Andrews said the election day marks an important milestone in the democratic life of Nigeria. Andrews said the observer mission would brief Nigerians and the world on Monday after the elections. According to him, the EU mission is dedicated to non-interference in the political process, as well as complete independence and impartiality, which has served the mission well and deepened the trust that people have in it.
Our mission has been deployed here since early January. So today is obviously important, but is also a step in the entire process that we've been examining over the last 2 months. And we will continue to stay here into early April to complete our assessment of the overall election process here in Nigeria. Observers across the country, more than 100 observers across the country. Our long-term observers have been deployed since late January, and short-term observers during this week are at polling units throughout the country. We'll work together with the other election observation missions from the African Union, from ECOWAS and the Commonwealth Foundation. And in 2 days' time, on Monday, we will publish a preliminary statement, and that will contain our initial assessment of the election process, having regard to all of the issues that have arisen.
You're watching Trust News Update. Coming up after the break. Reaction of angry voters missing from register. Stay with us. Welcome back and thanks for joining us on Trust News Update. Here's a recap of our top stories. We told you that counting of votes underway as Nigerians elect President Buhari's successor and 469 members of the National Assembly. You also heard that late commencement of election hampers exercise as INEC chairman insists all voters on queue will vote. Now moving to other stories, police in Osun State have arrested 2 men for allegedly impersonating operatives of the Department of State Services. Trust TV's Hamid Oyegbade reports that the suspects, Olarenwaju Faniyi and Sodiq Olayemi, were arrested at Ila Oragun, the hometown of senatorial candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Olubi Fadeyi. The police public relations officer for Osun State, Yemisi Okpalola, confirmed the arrest of the suspects. The suspects, who claimed that they work for a private security company, added that one General Gerald Tumbosun brought them to Ila from Ibadan in Oyo State for the election. The PPRO said the suspects have been handed over to the headquarters of the DSS in Osogbo for prosecution.
Are you having an election duty license?
That should be with my boss, sir.
With your boss?
Because I was told to come and work at here.
Are you an electorate in this vicinity?
No, sir.
You come and do what kind of work?
Okay. I was told that we are going to work with the police on the event and the Amatekun security company.
And you have been here for 2 days. Have you met the police?
No, I was told.
You have been here for 2 days. Have you met the police? Or the Amatekun or DSS or many?
I have not met any police, sir. But what they told me is that they are going there to go and show us, okay, if they permit us to work with them, say we are going to work. But if you don't permit us to work with them...
But without permission now, you started working.
We are not started working, sir.
What are you doing?
We moved to the event.
Scores of armed thugs besieged some polling units in the Oshodi and Itire areas of Lagos State, setting some ballot papers and boxes on fire. Some voters who could not run away when the thugs arrived were injured. Sources said the armed thugs later went around the area minutes after some security personnel on election duty left their duty posts. According to Tajuddin Haruna, minutes later, the thugs opened fire and scared voters away. Similarly, some thugs stormed Itire areas, carrying away voters from the different polling units in the area. James Nwoke alleged that it was a deliberate attempt to disenfranchise non-indigents in the state. Meanwhile, there is heavy military and police presence within the Lagos metropolis on Saturday to forestall breakdown of law and order. Voters at some polling units in Jos, the Plateau State capital, say they are unable to vote as their names are not seen on the published voter register pasted by the Independent National Electoral Commission. The voters who are eager to participate in the exercise are hopeful that they will not be disenfranchised before voting ends.
She cannot even see. For her to check your face, it will take her like 10 minutes. We've been here since morning. This is almost 10 o'clock. People that have voted in this place, I don't think they are up to 10.
I've discovered that even before now, even the previous election, this line is always more organized than here. Now, the information we are getting this morning that they're supposed to have the duplicate of where our serial names appear. Ordinarily, these people, they will paste it on the wall. When you see your name and your number, you know where you will fall in and go and see. But over here, we don't have such materials. So now we all is scattered. They will cause from first alphabetical order. Then what of people that will come in between? They wouldn't know where they will fall in.
I'm an observer from INEC office. I've been going around this morning to see what is going on.
I'm right here in this township school for where we have several polling units. Well, as I'm observing right here, things are going normal here. The accreditation, I can see is going on, even the voting. But from my own zone, Cabo Zone, we are having challenges here. As of now, after 9 or thereabout, we have not seen any materials or any INEC officials present there. So people are complaining there. That's why I want to go around and see what is going on. Then maybe if possible, go to the INEC office to ask them what the problem is.
On the foreign scene, 19 athletes were being treated for blast injuries on Saturday after multiple explosions were recorded during a race in parts of western Cameroon where English-speaking separatists are fighting government forces. There was no immediate comment from authorities in the town of Bois in southwest region, where 529 athletes were running up the highest mountain in West and Central Africa as they competed in the Mount Cameroon Race of Hope. The armed wing of Ambazonia Governing Council, one of the separatist militia groups, claimed responsibility for the blasts. A video shared widely on social media that was not immediately verifiable showed spectators cheering on a runner before dashing for cover when a small explosion went off in the distance. Another video showed a different explosion going off near a pack of runners elsewhere on the route. Participants in the race included athletes from East, Central, and Northern Africa and France. And with that, we've come to the end of Trust News Update. Don't forget to follow us across all our social media platforms. I'm Darshan Hussaina Usman. Thanks for watching.